opt in to receive our communications. We seek to accelerate equitable decarbonization in Massachusetts by empowering local residents, advocates, and community members to take action. MCAN has been around for over 20 years, and we have a variety of programming, statewide interest for local organizing. It's for any and all climate organizers. We have particular programming for municipal light plant towns and for better building advocates. We recently had a speaker series, Leaders Speak Out, Paths to Climate Justice. 3 speakers with 3 different perspectives, very interesting and important subjects, all 3 of them. Here's some of our other recent programs that we've had, and as you see those names, they're leaders in climate, a number of perspectives, a number of activist directions. In September and October, up till November 5th, MCAN is recommending that every community organize phone banking through the nonpartisan and nationally renowned Environmental Voter Project. Their work has proven to increase voting rates among environmentalists. Phoning is easy. Sessions are only an hour or 2 at a time, and you can sign up for one or everyone. Training is always provided, and there are sessions going on now virtually every weekday. Please go to environmentalvoter.org. If you need more information about this, we can discuss after the main meeting today. Joanne Bissetta will be our speaker today, and you may have seen the information about the program. Joanne has been with the Green Communities Division of the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources since 2009. And she helped initiate the development of the Climate Leaders Program, which we're going to be hearing about today. I hope that every community that's listening to this webinar is on track or will soon be on track to become a climate leader. This is where things are going. The session is being recorded. Please hold any questions until Joanne's initial presentation is finished, and then raise your digital hand, which is under reactions in the Zoom box. And if you're not speaking, please stay muted and keep your comments brief. Thank you. Thank you. Again, you're also polite. And one more time, please, please, please rename yourself in the Zoom by adding your town or affiliation and any preferred pronouns. And it's our great honor to introduce the esteemed Joanne Bissetta. Thank you so much for doing this, Joanne.
Wow, esteemed, but I don't know if I'm worthy. Good afternoon. I get to do this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you on this Monday to talk about the Climate Leader Community Program and answer some of your questions and tell you what we've been up to. So without further ado, we'll move on. So some of this is going to be given the audience a lot of repeat, and I don't need to tell too much of why we're here, but I'm going to just kind of set the stage in terms of clean energy and climate policy. I'm going to talk a bit about the Climate Leader Community Certification requirements. I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit because I think some of the people here might be weed type people on some of the municipal decarbonization roadmaps. Talk about resources, next steps, calendars, all that. So without further ado, these are my doom and gloom slides here. We all know why we're all doing this important work, and I want to thank particularly those of you who are volunteering in your efforts and doing this in addition to your day jobs or other things you could be doing. We are in a climate emergency between wildfires, heat advisories, storms, floods, and of course, our kids, kind of legacy we're leaving for our kids. So we're really trying to address that here in Massachusetts to enhance our air quality and our health. Those of you who've been around for a little while know that the Climate Act of 2021 greatly updated previous legislation that the Commonwealth has been operating under, in particular the Global Warming Solutions Act, which was passed in 2008. So the Climate Act of 2021 for the first time set in law emissions reduction standards for 2030, 2040, and then 2050, which aspirational, yes, but now they're in law, so we definitely need to get on moving on towards that. The following year, there's some more legislation. I wish there's a better acronym, but that's what the act is called. And in addition to establishing new parameters for procuring offshore wind projects, it also required some additional study for mid and long duration energy storage to include in our clean energy portfolio, if you will. It enhances rebates for consumer electric vehicle purchases and leases. It also established that all vehicles sold from 2035 on must be zero emission vehicles. There's a lot in this law, but those are some of the highlights that I thought would be interested in folks here. And then we've got all these plans. We got the Clean Energy Climate Action Plan. We got resilient mass plans. We got climate assessments. We got report cards. A lot of planning going on, and a lot of guidance that is being put forth by our colleagues at the Energy and Environmental Affairs Office and others at DOER. And here's these greenhouse gas reduction goals that we talk about. Again, the baseline year is 1990, because that's what the Global Warming Solutions Act established. And by 2050, we need to be at net zero. So as you can see, by 2025, I think the CECP wants us to be at about 33%. I think at the last count, we're at approximately 30% from 2022, so we're getting there. But you can see we still got a pretty steep curve to go in, by reducing our reliance on fossil fuels for heating our buildings, for running our transportation systems, and of course, cleaning up our grid. So here's some of the key strategies outlined in the Clean Energy Climate Action Plan that will get us there. As I just mentioned, transitioning the use of fossil fuels in buildings and vehicles. In the meantime, really enhancing energy efficiency where we can. It's often called the first fuel. In the meantime, also decarbonizing our electric supply system, which we're working on right now with the offshore wind procurements, continuing to deploy solar energy. And then last, but certainly not least, carbon sequestration through natural working lands. So that's all in the plan. What we're talking about mostly on here is end-use energy and energy efficiency. So we're here to talk about climate leaders. And in light of all these new laws and policies, we really need to kind of evolve the Green Communities Program to align resources that we provide to municipalities with these energy and climate goals that I've just described. Some key attributes for the Climate Leader Program is enhancing engagement with municipalities. A lot of you are on this call, and others have been leaders in doing this type of work, and we want to support you and encourage continued progress. And of course, through those that haven't done it yet, we want to encourage the adoption of clean energy and climate policies at the local level. And then lastly, but certainly not leastly, is supporting enhanced community engagement, which is something that our program hasn't been involved with that much so far, but we hope to change that. So here's our lovely map of the green communities. Right now, we've got over 90% of the population lives in a green community. Since 2010, we've awarded lots of funds to support energy efficiency and clean energy in these communities that have leveraged mass save incentives and also resulted in annual energy cost savings for the municipalities. And of course, saving energy and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. I feel like I'm speaking to the choir here, but why be a climate leader? In addition to the gold star you might get on your forehead, is leading by example, by displaying to your community that the municipality is ready to take on this hard work. Becoming a climate leader community will provide access to resources to help you achieve local sustainability goals. And again, supporting community engagement for clean energy and climate initiatives. So what is this climate leaders thing? It's a little bit of a busy slide. On the left-hand side, for those of you that haven't memorized the green communities criteria like I have, that's the 5 criteria that has been outlined in the Green Communities Act of 2008. The climate leader certification criteria is on the right. And the first one is actually something that I think is really important, is to have a local group in your city or town that is advising, leading, supporting these efforts. What we've seen in the 15 years of running the Green Communities Program or being involved with the Green Communities Program is the communities that are most successful in doing this work have a group of people that are leading it on. That's not to say that cities and towns that rely on an assistant planner or assistant town administrator or other staff people aren't successful. It's as many people know, municipal staff often wear a lot of hats and have different priorities. So if there's a group in town that is studying this, working on this, advising municipal leaders, it goes a long way. So that's something that we feel really important is if you're going to be a climate leader community, there needs to be a group of people that are helping to lead that effort, not just a municipal employee. The second requirement is the municipality needs to have some sort of commitment to decarbonizing its municipal operations. So this would be buildings, fleets, streetlights, although that doesn't really, anyway, having a commitment to decarbonize their fleet, their operations by 2050. And then the way we're now starting to evolve the Green Communities Program is the Municipal Decarbonization Roadmap, which is an extension and expansion of the Energy Reduction Plan. So what the Decarbonization Roadmap does, it really focuses on how is the municipality going to reduce and eliminate its use of on-site fossil fuels by 2050. In green communities, it's how is the community going to reduce its energy use by 20% in 5 years? So as you can see, we're moving from energy efficiency, energy reduction to greenhouse gas reduction. And similarly with the vehicle policy, to be a climate leader community, you need to have a zero emission vehicle first policy. Green community, there's a fuel efficient vehicle policy that has established miles per gallon parameters for different vehicle classes. And last, certainly not least, as many people know here in the trenches, adopting the specialized stretch code, which is an extension of the regular stretch energy code. So you do all that, you become a climate leader. And what's also different, the thing on the bottom here is we're going to have a recertification process, which we don't have with green communities, because we don't think climate leader communities, once they're in, they can rest on their laurels and, keep doing what they're doing. But we want to have continued forward progress. And that's what being a leader means, is continuing to do things. So for the first certification in 3 years, community would need to do some sort of community engagement best practice. We'll talk a little bit more of that moving on. This is the weed. The weed we're going to go into is the decarbonization roadmap. What we're doing is we're taking this approach as a zero over time. We don't expect cities and towns to, retrofit their buildings tomorrow. We expect them to look at end of life of their heating and ventilation equipment, any building renovations, roof replacements, and of course, building replacements. Most communities will have some sort of capital improvement plan. Some even have facilities master plans or some such thing. So you have some sort of an idea of, that school built in 1920. A lot of, the building isn't good for education anymore. We need more classrooms. We need different classrooms. We're going to replace that school in 5 to 10 years. So perhaps we don't focus on decarbonizing that 1920 school now, but we focus on, when the building's replaced, it being a net zero building. The roof is going to, on the police station, is ending its useful life in 5 years. That's the time to bolster the insulation of the roof, things like that. So the triggering events, things that are happening. But what the roadmap does, it really identifies when these things are going to happen and allows the community to plan for it. So if you are replacing a building or you are replacing a heating and cooling system, you're like, all right, in 8 years, we need to decarbonize this building. Instead of when the furnace, craps out saying, oh my gosh, we need to replace this, all right, let's bolster the weatherization in that building, 3 years out. Let's look at whether there's enough adequate electrical service to support electrifying this heating and cooling and rectify that. Those sorts of things. So when it's time to replace the equipment, the building is ready to go. And, hopefully there's, some grant funding and mass save funding and other types of funds available. That's what we mean by a zero over time approach. And the roadmap, we have targets in the decarbonization roadmap that mirror what's in the Clean Energy and Climate Plan. The first one I highlighted in I discovered the highlighting thing in PowerPoint. We really want to focus on reducing emissions from on-site fossil fuels. We're very, supportive of solar, but we want to make sure that the buildings are heated and cooled using renewable thermal technologies as we go forward. And again, the second and third have to do with fleets. This is a percentage of your fleet that is a zero emission vehicle. And as you can see, it's going to increase over time as market availability becomes more robust. And then by 2050, hopefully most of the fleets are converted. And then the last one has to do with making the existing buildings that you have already that you're not planning to replace anytime soon, that have relatively new heating and cooling equipment, make sure they're operating as efficiently as possible by doing some deep energy retrofits and retro commissioning, things like that. All best practices, nothing terribly surprising here. So for the decarbonization roadmap, you could do it yourself. It's a DIY operation. As I mentioned, it does take some time and some work, but it's you don't need to have audits. You don't need to hire engineers to do it. It just takes time and effort and information. That being said, are offering technical assistance with this roadmap development. And then as an aside, we do support when you identify a building that is potentially ripe for electrification, we do provide matching funds to Mass Save Technical Studies program to do deeper analysis and engineering for these types of things. So we're trying to help you along the way as much as possible. All right, here we are at the weeds. I know some of you are Mass Energy Insight super users, and some might be like, what the heck am I looking at? Mass Energy Insight is our online energy benchmarking and tracking tool that we provide free of charge to all cities and towns, state districts, and other local political entities. It's been beefed up recently. This is not your father's Mass Energy Insight. We've definitely built up some of the analytics and functionality of it. As you can see, on the top there, we've got some different tabs. We've got climate leaders, and then we've got roadmap beta, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But oftentimes when I speak to groups like this, people are like, well, what can I do now? What can my energy committee do now? This is some of the backbones of putting together a decarbonization plan using Mass Energy Insight is getting the information about your buildings in this blueprint. So we're in our fictional town of Ames. We created our own little prototype here with the Ames High School. We're in their blueprint. And if you can see on the left-hand column, there's different attributes. So when I said it takes time and work, this is it. And this just gives you a sense of, number of conditioned floors. We're going to keep the building, does not have a swimming pool, has not been air sealed recently, and it has unit ventilators. So getting attributes of your buildings in Mass Energy Insight will help do some of this. And then again, here's some more of the blueprint questions here. Electric motors to, send the hot water around. Yes, we have it. 5 horsepower. Yes, it's a VFD, variable frequency drive, which means it operates efficiently. And then the roof is 10,000. These are made up numbers. I don't know if they're real or not, but the roof is 10,000 square feet, etc. So just to give you a sense of what that blueprint is. Then we get to the emissions forecasting. So again, we're at Ames High School. This is a business as usual forecast. And if you could see on the bottom here, from the inputs that were put into that blueprint, it was determined that the roof end of useful life, EOL, end of life, just end of life, is at 2029. So this forecasting is saying, okay, there's going to be a new roof on the high school by 2030. And then, also the heating and ventilation system end of life is at 2030. So this is assuming that, these things may or may not be taking place, but it's assuming that they are being implemented. And you can see over time that the emissions will go down. Mass Energy Insight has in their electric emissions has the Massachusetts goals embedded into it. So you can see that the goals as outlined in the Clean Energy and Climate Plan corresponds with how much of a renewable energy mix will be in our grid. So let's say we do some interventions here. Let's say we decarbonize our kitchen operations in 2026. So you could see a very little blip of electric use going up, a little blip of the gas use going down. And then like, we're going to have, we need to put in our new geothermal system in 2030, 2031, and then you could see the emissions dropping. So these are all based on, these are models. They're based on tools available from NREL, National Renewable Energy Labs. It's all modeled, but I just wanted to get you a sense of that's sort of the level of detail we're looking at for these roadmaps. We don't need expensive studies with cost estimates that are going to be obsolete in 2 years anyway. So just to let you know, the next bit I'm going to talk about briefly is the zero emission vehicle first policy. And basically it establishes a hierarchy of decision making that your city or town will go through as it looks to acquire vehicles. So obviously the first priority is it's a battery electric or fuel cell electric, basically a zero emission vehicle. Second, it's a plug-in hybrid. Third, it's a regular hybrid, and then fourth, if there's no alternative fuel alternative technology vehicle that meets the needs of the operations, then you need to get the most fuel efficient vehicle as possible in accordance with our policy. This is, reflecting that right now there are no fuel efficient fire trucks and things like that. So over time, maybe not fire trucks, but as the medium and heavy duty vehicles, the market gets fully developed, hopefully this will pan out a bit more. And then the last certification is the adopting the opt-in specialized code. Those of you that are green communities may be familiar with the process. It needs to be adopted by either town meeting or city council. We have model language on our website and model warrant language. We provide technical assistance if you want to have a public information session, which we highly encourage you to do so, because it's hard. Building code is complicated, and asking your local residents to vote on something, they really want to understand it. So our regional coordinators are available to help organize these public information sessions, whether it's with, open to the public, or you first need to talk with your city council, your select board, or Economic Development Council. I know towns have different processes as they move forward with the warrant articles and so forth. We currently have 45 communities that have adopted the specialized code. Sorry, the map is a little busy. So the specialized code group is the teal color. And we're starting to enter fall town meeting season. So perhaps we'll have another 10 or so adopted this fall, and then more for next spring town meeting. I want to thank the folks at Zero Mass Carbon, or Zero Carbon Mass, for putting together a nice group of resources on their website. So it's about 30% of the state's population is currently in a specialized code. And it includes places like Worcester and Salem, as well as some of the more suburban communities. So keep at it, you guys. You're doing a great job advocating at the local level. We certainly appreciate it. Talk a little bit about best practices, because again, preaching to the choir here, but I think everybody's aware that if you look at your greenhouse gas emissions in your community as a pie chart, the municipal emissions are a pretty small sliver. And we really need to work with our local residents, our business communities, and other organizations to get the word out to transition to a clean energy economy, clean energy practices. So that's one reason why I really want to focus on enhancing community outreach. And in particular with the recent, I don't want to say tsunami, that's a bad word, but federal funds, there's a lot of federal grants out there. It's confusing to me, even sometimes, to keep track of everything, but we want to make sure that your community is aware of the heat, heat pump incentives or the mass save incentives and the special incentives for low and moderate income residents, incentives for renters, and things like that. The Solar for All, which will be deployed early next year, there's a whole nother suite. So there's already existing programs that are, publicizing these efforts, but certainly if you can amplify those messages, all the better. So sorry for the busy slide, but these are proposed. We're looking at three different categories. I've been talking about the community engagement piece because that's the first one. We want communities that are climate leaders to deploy for those reasons that I mentioned. But in the meantime, there are clean energy and climate policies and planning activities that cities and towns can do. Not all of these are suitable for all communities. The idea is that there should be something for everybody. And then on the right-hand side is the clean energy, clean transportation and mobility. So really focusing in on getting people out of their cars if possible, and or really promoting alternative fuel charging stations, other modes of transportation, etc. So we hear about the grants as well, right? So we're going to support climate leader communities by providing funding to implement some of those best practices that were just on the last screen, again, which is something that we haven't traditionally done in a great deal. Of course, the municipal building, electrification and decarbonization, seed funds, big fan of, helping to support bodies to do this work. Support for solar and storage, of course. Support for geothermal on new and existing buildings. This is, again, is something new that we haven't really supported new construction type things previously, but given the extraordinary costs of engineering and studies to determine, is this a good, is there geothermal here or is it like all ledge or whatever, that sort of thing. And then other innovative projects because, there's a lot of smart people out there that can come up with interesting things. So where we are right now is once we have the climate leader communities up and running, those capacity building grants and non-capital intensive projects, if you will, we're going to add them to our existing green community grant application. Those of you that are familiar with that, there's always been a category that we've called especially eligible, for the lack of having something better to call it, that has some of these activities listed, but we're going to have a climate leader section. So if you're a climate leader certified community and you want some funds to help with a local community campaign, you can do it through the Green Communities Grant. We're going to focus our decarbonization efforts on a separate climate leader. We're calling it an accelerator grant. I don't know what it actually end up being called, but again, focusing on the building decarbonization, deploying on-site solar and storage. So what we're going to do is have it in two different phases. If you need technical assistance and help with putting together the engineering, feasibility studies, procurement, test, any of that stuff, that'll be one separate grant. And then once you have your project, then there'll be a implementation grant. Some of you may already know, hey, I just built an all-electric school. I really want to put solar on it. Then, obviously you may not need all the engineering to do that, that sort of thing. So that's sort of the concept here. In terms of timeline, we are I think we're still in summer. It's still not the autumnal equinox here. We started accepting climate leader certifications the end of July, and so far we have 4 communities that have submitted materials to us. We awarded, I didn't include it on here, but we awarded planning assistance to 20 communities that are working with 2 different consultants on putting together their roadmaps, and those roadmaps should be completed this fall. Again, assuming, as you saw, there's a lot of information that the roadmaps do require, so some of it's dependent on the community's ability to collect that data or work with the consultants to collect that data. We're continuing with specialized code education and outreach, and the updates to the Mass Energy Insight program were deployed earlier this summer. Fall, later this fall, we anticipate announcing the details of these grants. We're still going through the internal approval processes, so I can't speak to specifics of what we will and will not fund because it's still being going up the food chain, if you will, but we intend to announce what those are later this fall. We'll continue to support local votes on specialized code adoption, and we will offer another round of roadmap planning assistance if you're not one of those 20 communities, but your community is interested in pursuing this. We intend to offer another round later this fall. And because everybody needs a deadline, one year we tried to have rolling deadlines for things, and it just did not work. So we will accept climate leader certifications when you're ready, but we're going to have a cutoff at the end of the year, and just to A, give people a target, and B, to allow for our staff workflow to be somewhat sane. So we will, that's what we're going to have, like applications deadline of December 31st. And looking ahead, even though it's not published, and I don't think I even shared it with the staff, but the intention is to have another deadline of June 30th. So we'll process applications in those groups. And then the climate leader grants that I mentioned will be announced in the fall. Likely those applications will be due in late summer, early fall of next year, just to give people time to put together their materials. And here's some other timeline, green communities related, since I have a captive audience here. We do have a competitive grant solicitation out for the fall block. It is due on October 18th. We are having our first ever Green Community Summit. It's going to be at Devon's on November 1st. Mark your calendar. We're putting together the sessions as we speak. And this, again, was something I've been looking to do for a number of years. And, COVID didn't help. So I'm very excited to get everybody together and learn from each other. Those pesky Green Community annual reports are due on November 15th. And again, I want to give a shout out to our Mass Energy Insight team that really took a clunky Excel workbook and made it almost as fun and easy as doing your taxes online. And then I have a late fall municipal decarbonization because we don't have a deadline set for that yet, but we're looking at late fall for the roadmap assistance. And then the December 31st deadline for green communities, because we're still having green communities coming on board. We'll meet cities and towns where they are, as well as the climate leader community applications are due. And here's our boots on the ground here. Many of you may be familiar with your Green Community Coordinator, Dylan Patel in Northeastern Mass, Kelly Brown in Central Mass, Chris Mason in Western Mass, and Lisa Sullivan in Southeast Mass and the Islands. These are really your first point of contact if you have any questions about any of this. If you want more information, you want them to talk to your energy committee or your select board or whoever. And there's my contact information as well. And I always love this. We don't do this anymore, but when communities became designated, we asked them to show us a sign of a picture with them and their green community sign that we gave them. And we got some nice pictures from that effort, so I like using this. And with that, that's the end of my presentation.
Terrific, Joanne. Thank you so much. And what a great presentation. What a great program. And what did you say? It's now as easy as your online taxes. Terrific. All right, folks, you've been patient. Thank you very much. Let's try this. If you could raise your digital hand, and we'll try to take questions as quickly as we can. Please keep your comments or questions as brief as possible. Thank you very much. And Sally, we'll start with you.
I was afraid of that. I'm looking back to see what I asked. Two questions. One simple one. So what, in terms of getting a municipal commitment to decarbonize, what does that entail? Is that just, having your select board sign something that says we commit to this? The other question is, one of the topics that we've covered a lot with MCAN and that they're focused on is decarbonizing with building materials and factoring that in. And I'm wondering if that's, since building materials can eclipse operational greenhouse gases in their immediate upfront emissions, how, if DOER is factoring that into this process, and if so, how?
All right, I'll answer the easier one first. So the municipal commitment, if you will, is a little more robust than the select board saying.
Excuse me, Joe. Sorry, just at the very end of your presentation, your sound went a little wonky. I don't think I'm the only one hearing that. I don't know if there's anything you did to your sound or that can undo.
No, I didn't. Can you hear me now?
It's echoing.
Yeah, there's some echo. I'm not sure what would cause
If
that.
you don't mind leaving and joining again, it might behave itself.
All right, I'll be back.
Joanne, we can't lose you. Oh no. What are we gonna do? Talk ourselves?
Am I still echoing?
You are.
All right.
Sorry about that.
All right, let me leave and come back quickly.
Crazy. Okay. All right, let's I'll just make a pep talk that we should be real quick with the Q&A. Joanne doesn't have a lot of time after 1 o'clock. At this point, I only see Steve, Jerry with their electronic hands up. Okay. Everybody's got their questions answered. This is cool. Or, go back to your regional coordinators, right? Mary can't hear you. Okay, Joanne? Okay, I now see Roy and Sue in the queue. Thank you. And Joanne, are you back?
I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Much better, thank you.
Yay. Choice of working from home. All right. Decarbonization commitment. There are two basic ways. Well, there's several ways, and it's sort of outlined in the guidance documents. All of the guidance documents for climate leader certification is on our website. But we're looking for like a town meeting resolution saying, yes, we're committed to do this. There's a climate emergency, therefore we adopt, we want to be net zero by 2050, that sort of thing. And I know a number of town meetings have done that recently. Or as an alternative, if your community has a climate action plan already and has accepted it, if you will, that is enough of a commitment to demonstrate. We don't need, a big thing, but we want something that says that, yes, we in Montague feel this is important and our residents have voted on it, or our town has invested in a climate action plan and is now trying to implement it, those types of things. And then secondly, that's an excellent question. Right now, it's not being considered in this program, but one of the, I want to say beautiful things about the best practices is that it's not static. It's something that can and will evolve over time as technologies, including building materials, embodied carbon that you've mentioned, become better known. And, we have some sort of guidance that we could provide cities and towns that will be added to that list. And then, maybe some things will come off it, so that's an excellent point. It's not being considered yet, but it's again, as this program evolves, things will be added and subtracted.
Great. Okay. Steve.
Yes, Joanne, just a couple of questions about the vehicle policy requirements. The vehicle requirements mention replacement vehicles, but I assume that also applies to fleet additions that are not replacements. Is that correct?
Yes, any acquisition. So if it's replacing or, yeah.
Then my other question is, can you refresh my memory as to what the green communities requirement is for vehicles? I know it's increased efficiency, but I thought it had to be either hybrids or EVs. Am I wrong?
No, that's an ongoing myth. No, on our website, you'll see under the Green Communities criteria for our fuel efficient vehicle policy, there's a list of vehicle classes with minimum miles per gallon efficiency. So I don't have these memorized anymore, but it differentiates between light duty vehicles, your passenger vehicles, and light duty trucks along. Your SUVs have a different miles per gallon requirement. But no, we don't require EVs or hybrids. We encourage them, but we don't require them.
Okay, so it really is a lift for the leadership program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thanks. Sue, you want to?
Yeah, thank you. Bedford has been a green community for some years, and we do have an energy and sustainability committee that is appointed by our select board. Is that a sufficient community group to meet the climate leader concerns?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. And as part of the application, we're going to ask for a list of members, their affiliation, whether they're residents or sometimes these are, representatives of other committees, and then like a summary of activities for the past year, like making sure it's active, because there's often sometimes communities are established and after a few years they kind of fade out. So we want to make sure it's active.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. Roy?
Thank you. My question is on the slide titled Program Timeline, which is a table showing the different phases. The phase I'm interested in is the middle column, fall 2024. The first item says announce availability of climate leader decarbonization accelerator grants. The last item under fall 2024 says offer second round of decarbonization roadmap planning assistance. Are those the same thing, the two phases of the same thing, or do they cover different things?
No, good question. So the Climate Leader Accelerator Grant is the grant that will be available to communities that become certified climate leaders. So these would be the technical assistance to, do the geothermal engineering type stuff or other types things, as well as helping to implement that. The roadmap planning assistance is assistance to help the community put together its decarbonization roadmap. They're two different things.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying. It says the lower one in the fall 2024 says second, what was it? The second offering of the planning assistance. When is the first round of planning assistance available?
The first round was available this spring.
Oh, so it's gone.
And, right, we about 20 communities were awarded that assistance, and they're hopefully wrapping them up. There's gonna be, finishing up those plans this fall, hopefully.
Great. Thanks so much for clarifying.
Mhm,
That's all I need.
Let's try to get through a couple more questions if we can, if they're very quick, please. Jerry?
Yeah, thank you. And Joanne, thank you. And I don't see anybody else from Peabody here. And I will bring attention to your work and the many opportunities to my friends at City Hall, working through Breathe Clean North Shore, which is a part of MCAN. And so thank you. And my question is, and I'm not sure if it's within your scope, but I'm asking on behalf of Kimberly French. What can you do to create equity and fairness for ratepayers and communities with a municipal light plant? And Peabody is one such. Kimberly French is an MCAN chapter leader in Middleborough. She has done really good, important research to look at the current IRA rebate system and demonstrate that it's unfair and not working for many ratepayers. With smaller rebate, fewer options, and it gets in the way of people decarbonizing and upgrading and so on. So I don't know if you can do it, or maybe you can put us in touch with somebody who can.
All right. Well, while Joanne's thinking of a very quick answer, I'll just say that we are going to be sending out the recording link, and Joanne, you will be able to share your slides.
I'm sorry, now you're echoing, Fred. What was the last question?
I was saying you'll be able to share your slides, right? We'll send them around.
Yes, I'll send them to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Ron and Dodie, hopefully we'll have opportunity to ask quick questions.
Yeah.
After you.
Jerry, the short answer is no, there's nothing I personally can do right now. That's like a bigger question related to MLPs and rates and above my pay grade, if you will. But the good news is PBD just became a green community, so we're very excited to have them part of our family, and they're I believe are working with Dylan Patel on putting together their first grant application. So I'm pleased to have them on board. So yay.
Great. Okay, Dodie and then Ron.
Actually, that's the question I was raising too. I'm with Sustainable Middleborough as well, and we are very concerned that the IRA offerings are not giving us any help, and all the references to Mass Save always make us feel how much we are left out. Thanks.
Right, and just to that note, we do recognize the situations that municipal light plant communities have, and so we try to, we make sure that our municipal technical assistance grants are offered open to all, so we can help fund those types of studies, and recognizing that some of the incentives are not, the Mass Save incentives do not translate to the municipal light communities. I know there's other folks at DOER who are working on other clean energy offerings to help residents of MLP communities. So I know it's not the same as Mass Save, but there's efforts being made.
Thank you. Okay, Ron, what you got? Oh, you got to unmute.
So I'm a member of a local climate action planning group, and I deal with conservation land, carbon sequestration issues. And I don't see that. I know that's handled by a different part of the state, but it's too bad that there isn't more confluence between the forest conservation land issues and what you folks are doing around energy and transportation.
What town are you in, Ron?
Milton,
Middleton.
Milton,
Milton.
Milton.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, Ron, I appreciate that question, and that's something, I'm on, my volunteer hat, I'm on my local conservation trust here. And it, granted, it's not part of the certification requirements because I do work for the Department of Energy Resources, but where we intersect is, some of the best practices. So one of those columns were for clean energy and climate planning and policies, and there are several land type activities there that that's something we recognize, and we want to support communities that do that work and encourage them to do that work.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who raised questions. And if we didn't get to some of the items on your mind or that you might have written in, I apologize. We'll take a look through the chat, see if there's anything that wasn't covered. And Joanne has graciously offered to get back to us after today if there are questions remaining. So again, thank you everyone for being here today. It's awesome to be working in this sphere of climate activism in Massachusetts, a leading state in the country, and this is a leading program in the state. So I hope everyone realizes just how amazing we are to have this Office of Energy Resources, this particular program, and this particular leader. Thank you so much, Joanne.
Well, thank you. And I know I did not pay Fred to give us a commercial, but thank you for the kudos. There's a lot of people involved here. So I want to thank you all remaining on the screen for doing this work at the local level.
Thank you, everyone. Please stay tuned for further programming from MCAN. Thank you so much for being here today.